Good evening, everybody, and thank you if you are going to be joining me live. Thank you for joining me on my channel, Over 40s Lounge. What if you're new to my channel? What I've done is I've changed my channel for it to reflect its name. So I'm interested in speaking to both men and women over the age of 40, so that could be 40 to 100, about the different things that have taken place in their life and how they have found their passion, their purpose, and their calling. Because life doesn't end at 21. Not everyone finds their path in their 20s. For some, the path is revealed much later in their 30s, 40s, and onwards. So I'm trying to really encourage people to start looking at their life in that light. And I'm bringing people on who have made discoveries about themselves or who've taken different career paths later on in life. So today I have a guest, Sandra Moodie. She's a very, very industrious woman. She is a little powerhouse. She does so many different things. We haven't spoken for a while. I haven't seen her for quite some time. We used to be in a community group together years ago, but we haven't done it for a little while. So I'm just going to bring her on and we can have a bit of a catch up and she'll tell you all about how she became an author in her 50s. Welcome, Sandra.
Hi, Uche. How are you?
I'm very, very well, thank you. It's
Oh,
been too long. It really has.
absolutely. Really, really long, really long. It's really good to see you. My goodness.
I've been keeping track of you on was it Facebook? I see the
Yeah,
little things, the little community things that you do and so on and so forth. And I got to know that
yeah,
you were in a book. I thought, oh, that's interesting.
yeah.
That's
Yes, I have.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what have you been doing since the last time we met? I think it was, when was it the last time I met you? Or well, met you face to face, put it that way.
Oh, goodness. I can't even remember now, Uche. I mean, I know you launched a book way before lockdown. Um,
2014. Yeah.
yes, so that was way before lockdown. And I
I thought
remember
so,
going to
yeah.
your launch. And yeah, so much have happened since, I'd really say. But yeah, it's all been interesting. Yes, I published a book earlier on this year, Aminata
Fantastic.
and the Bag of Seeds. I think most people probably know all about it. They've seen it online. And how did the book come about? I started sponsoring a little girl in the Gambia last year, January 2020. I made a
Hmm.
commitment to support her for her school essentials, really, her books and her uniform to get to school. And then before I knew it, lockdown had come, and I began to think a little bit more broad and on the whole thing about what I'm going to do with her. And it just sprang in my mind, draft her a story. And as I began to do that, I began to think about, you know, what can I really do to make a difference for this lovely little girl? And funny enough, when I saw her photograph, I really fell in love with her. And
Oh,
yeah, and she's 6 now. The book was actually launched on her 6th birthday
she's a
this year.
baby.
Yeah, which is the
Oh.
Gambian Independence Day. And it's funny that her birthday is on that day because it was quite significant to think that the country could have that celebration. And she's actually celebrating that someone actually wrote a book about her on that day as
Oh,
well. So it was like a double celebration for her and the people in her community, especially her family.
yes,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so the book was officially launched in February in half term.
Hmm.
And it's been a tremendous, tremendous journey since getting the book out. Now, essentially, what was I thinking when I wanted to do it? Now, I have to admit, this was not the first time I thought about writing. I've actually been thinking about writing for 20 years. And yeah, so if you think
Wow.
about a woman that is having a baby and this is a very long pregnancy, I would say that this has been an extremely long pregnancy and I've finally given birth. And I think the concept with Aminata and the Bag of Seeds, it kind of encamps quite a wide range of the things that I've been thinking about over these past 20 years. I mean,
Hmm.
20 years ago, I wanted to do a children's magazine when my children were little. And, I think everyone is kind of saying the same kind of strap line. They wanted to see their children's images in a book, in literature.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think at the time when I had my two youngest children, I used to buy them magazines and books and things like that, but there really wasn't that much representation for them. So what I
Yeah.
decided to do, I had no idea about publishing. I had no idea. about education or business. I just had a vision. And I think this is what you need to kind of grasp this evening. If you have a vision, don't think don't think anything less of it. If you've
Mhm.
got a vision, there's something that can be birthed out of it. And at the time, I wanted to do a children's magazine, and I was going to call it Kamara. And essentially, what Kamara was going to be was a children's magazine that this little girl travels the entire world, and she reports on various different subjects, and she comes back and she reports back into the magazine. And in the magazine, the centerfold was the children's contribution that would write into the magazine, and the back page was, in fact, for parents' information. And it's really funny because on the back of Aminata's book is information for parents. So again,
Oh,
this is where I kind of push some of the things that I actually saw in my vision way back. And it's funny that Aminata is a little girl. Kamara was a little girl. And I pondered on this, and then I took the roots into education because at the time I had no idea about it. And, the door opened for me to work in my children's school. The door opened for me to go to university. And at the end of the day, I began to emerge down a whole new path. But what I think I really realized, because sometimes I can beat myself up on it, that, I should have done this 20 years ago. But I think along the 20-year journey, and although it has been a marathon, I've actually picked up a lot of information and knowledge along the way.
yeah.
And I think in this project, I was able to really contribute to it with what I've gained over the years. Now, my background is children's centre managing. So I manage a couple of children's centres in Lambeth and Wandsworth, and a little bit of family services coordinating in Southwark. And so therefore, families have always been at my heart, have been the centre of my work. And so with all of that, I could kind of pick up on what families needed. So I think I've got a bit of an eye of detail, literally just to see the gaps in things.
Mhm.
And as I can see the gaps, this is where I try to fill these gaps. And so with what I see, or what I kind of I'm inspired to do, is to make sure that those areas are filled. And so over the years, I've always tried to bring in that gap, narrow that gap for families. And I think with Aminata's project, with this book, it's kind of given me the opportunity to have that platform. And
Okay.
so what I've really realized, even in my children's center framework um, that I was working in, there was the whole, it's funny because today is Victoria Climbier's, would have been
Yeah.
Victoria Climbier's 30th
30th.
birthday
Yeah.
today.
My brother told me about that. Yeah.
Children's centres were birthed out of Victoria Climbier's death. And
Really?
so, yes,
I didn't
this is
know
how,
that.
yes. So there was this paper that came out of it with Every Child Matters, and that came out of Victoria Climbier. And so it's funny that we're talking about this today, knowing that she would have been 3 decades
Wow.
today. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that's quite significant actually. But again, the Every Child Matters had 5 outcomes. Every child should be healthy. Every child should enjoy and achieve, which is their education. Every child should make a positive contribution, which is charity and all the rest of it. Every child should be safe, and every child should have financial security. So in those 5 outcomes of the Every Child Matters is the work that we literally were carrying out, was the benchmark of our work. And so what I found, even in Aminata's book, at the back of the book, because she plants an orange tree, there's 7 significant segments of her orange that the teacher kind of breaks down, and 5 of them are from the Every Child Matters. Another
Hmm.
2 I've added is children should consider their environment, and the 7th segment is that children should become spiritually aware. And the teacher adds, when all these areas are in a child's life, it makes them whole, just like an orange. So this is what we want to really bring to the table. We want children to be whole. We want families to be whole. We don't want children to not have financial security. The pandemic has really, it's really challenged families, 0-hour contracts, people have lost their jobs and all the
Yeah.
rest of it. And even if I look at, say, like the disproportionate rates, even in education, a lot of children, fall short with that, you know, because of disadvantages and things like that. So when we really begin to look at that work, Aminata's segments will become a whole manual in itself, and that will be a whole group of work for parents and schools, and that hopefully will be launched next year for her
That's
anniversary.
fantastic.
So yeah, so there's more work to be done there.
So the title Aminata Seeds, why that title?
Aminata and the bag of seeds. She finds
And the
a
bag
bag
of
of
seeds,
seeds.
sorry.
Yeah, and the bag of seeds. She actually overcomes a rejection. And the character in the book is actually my granddaughter, who's actually visiting in the Gambia temporarily, but no one knows she's a skipping champion. And as she takes over the skipping game, when she asks the girls, can she play with them? None of the girls in Gambia know that she's actually a skipping champion from the UK. She takes over the game, and then Aminata gets really upset. She sulks and she wanders off on her own. And as she goes off on her own, she sulks and she cries. But as she's crying, she hears the birds, and that begins to make her feel really calm and settled. And all of a sudden, she just hears this voice deep, deep inside of her. Aminata, if you would only just stop crying, just stop the crying and look up. And she hears that voice a couple of times. And she's never heard a voice inside of her before, but then she takes the courage and she does look up. And as she looks up, she sees something hanging from the branch above her head. And it's actually a cloth bag. And it actually has her name on it. And when she was about to run away and tell someone what she's found, she hears the voice again prompting her, don't leave your gift under a tree. And essentially what that means is everyone has a gift.
Yes.
So Aminata finds her gift with her name on it, not anyone else's name, her name. And as she prompts up and she pulls down the vine that's tied around the bag, and then she opens it, and there it is, a bag of seeds. So then the adventure is that she runs home to her mum and tells her mum all about this adventure with the skipping game, and then also with finding this bag with her name on it, full of seeds. But she doesn't know what type of seeds they are, but her mum identifies them immediately. And I think this is the bit where we need to emphasize on parental engagement and how parents are essential in the development and upbringing of children, because her mum
100%.
recognizes, based on her experience, she recognized what type of seeds they were. So Aminata's young and she knows they're seeds, but she doesn't know what type. But her mum identifies immediately, and she tells her, oh, Aminata, but these are orange seeds. And she says, orange seeds, mama? Yes, Aminata, they are orange seeds and we must plant them. Plant them, mama? Yes, Aminata. Because everything that is born to grow must be fed. Everything that is born to grow must be fed, just like you and all of your friends. So this is where we have it. So this is where the humanitarian project kind of kicks in. Everything that is born to grow must be fed, just like she and all of her friends. So this is where we consider others. So throughout the whole book, you'll see where the 7 segments are tailored and woven in throughout the whole story. So again, this is where we consider others, that everything that is born to grow must be fed. So this is something that we can consider. And then you see where Aminata, once the oranges are bared from the fruits, that the sowing of the seeds, then you see that she begins to share them with her peers and all the rest of it. And, you know, yeah, anyway, I won't go too much into that for now.
The meanings of everything that you've described so far are quite profound. Where did all this come from? Like, I know you wanted to write something for the young girl in the Gambia, but it's quite a deep story. How did that come about? How just unpack that for us?
As I say, I think as I began to consider what could I really put together for her, I think initially when I drafted the story, I wanted it was a tree that she was planting. But I think over a course of time, it began to unfold even more, and I began to see more and more what I could add to it, or should I say, the significance of it.
Right.
So it's one thing. I mean, I think what I did in lockdown, I began to look. So many people wrote books in lockdown, and I began to buy so many books off of Amazon. It was incredible, you know. Some about juicing, some about all different things, you know, building up your immune system. There was lots.
Yeah.
And what I found, which is slightly different from Aminata, Aminata's quite meaty. So essentially, I think what's in this one book could have been 2 books.
Right.
But I still felt it needed to be as it was.
Hmm.
because she needed to overcome this rejection. And I think, to tell you the honest truth, when I was writing it, it was probably for an older child.
Right.
So
Okay.
I had to reduce it and bring it down and bring it down, because my grandson read it, proofreading it, and said to me, like, Gubby, who is this aimed at? And I said, oh, well, the little girl's only 5. She knows this. He says, well, is it for adults or is it for children? And I said, well, actually, it's for parents to work with their children. And I think that's what it is. It's a tool. And I think that conversation with parents and children is essential. Even if
Hmm.
it's a bedtime story, it's about togetherness, it's about that conversation, it's about communication, it's about talking. And so, although it was aimed at a little girl that was about to be 6 years old, I did have to reduce it. So, I'm a narrative person. So, I was writing spills and spills of it, but I had to reduce it. And what I wanted to say in how many pages, I had to reduce it significantly.
Hmm.
So that again is a skill in itself. So you have to just be able to know what to do, when you're doing that. So yeah, so it was a lot meatier and a lot longer, but I had to reduce it for what it was, just to get the same emphasis and the same story across, so that it can be for early years, right up to about 9 years old, really. Yeah.
Okay. So how is Aminata doing? How is she?
Renata, oh my goodness, that little girl is grown, is so much confidence since this book has come out. I mean,
Wow.
on World Book Day, she was a proud, proud young lady holding her book at her chest, for all the world to see on World Book Day. And I was absolutely delighted, when I
Oh,
got a photograph with her holding her book on World Book Day. I just thought that couldn't have been a better gift for me to have
yeah.
had her on World Book Day, that she's in the Gambia, she's got her book and all her peers are around her. But she's gained in so much confidence, because when I spoke to her even before her birthday, she was ever so shy, but now she's really come out of herself, and it's just incredible. I think the only thing is that I think I need to address is that I've shone a light on one child in an entire area of need. And now I think I probably need to do some adventures where it kind of involves a lot more of the peers, so that they
Got it.
don't feel left out. Yeah. And I think that's what kind of pulled that up. And I think, okay, so I've started, there's a bit more work to be done there, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So where are her parents in all this? I mean, are they around or are they not around?
Yeah, I've spoken to them, and
Oh, excellent.
mom doesn't have that much English, but dad is a bit stronger on the English. But he was ever so emotional, and I think extremely overwhelmed to know that someone is. He was very tearful, Uche, very,
Oh,
very tearful when I spoke
that's
to
so
him.
sweet.
Just, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. He just couldn't say it enough. He was just consistently saying God bless you, which was just so lovely, so
Hmm.
lovely. But yeah, they were really chuffed, really, really extremely chuffed. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
So
So
tell
it's
us
really
about,
good that I'm in contact with them. Sorry,
sorry
say
to
that.
cut you. Sorry, say again.
No, sorry, say that. You go on.
Have you finished saying what you're going to say?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was going to say, tell us about the pass the baton work you're doing.
Right, okay. The pass the baton, how did that come about? I think when I got a bit of redundancy from work, and again back to the whole vision, when you're carrying something for a number of years, I think sometimes, and it doesn't really matter what you decide to do along the way, something that needs to be birthed, it won't leave you. And I
Hmm.
remember when we were going through redundancies, and they were shuttling around all of us as managers, from 30 managers down to 13. And I remember one day just walking through the center, yeah, significant cuts. And I was walking through
Hmm.
the center one day, and it's literally like I just saw this light bulb, and I just saw all these books on the desk, in the corridor, in the center. And I said, oh my goodness, this is it. This is my market. This is where Kamara could work. And it was literally right there I began to see Kamara, the project, unfold into like these 5 books of Every Child Matters, literally. So I saw a book on finance for children. the parents. I saw a book on education, which had different languages. I saw a book on safety, how we should keep children safe. I literally saw them and I thought, this is it. And so as I began to, jot all of this down, there's a scripture in the Bible, write the vision and make it plain.
Yeah.
And those who read it will run with it. And literally, as I began to, I had like a folder this high of every single area of what I was going to do with these books. And I thought to myself, well, what am I going to call them? And I was having a conversation with a dear friend, Juliet, on the telephone. And as we were talking, the word just came out, passing the baton, pass the baton. And I literally saw the concept, again, that saying that iron sharpens iron. Sometimes you can have a conversation with certain people and you are so ignited with your dream. You're so ignited and you're on fire with what you really want to do. And I just think that, that is key, making sure you've got the right people around you to really make sure that your dream comes alive. I just think it's really important. And as we began to converse again, I began to write this down. But at the time, I remember I was in church one Sunday, just as I finished my main job, from the whole cuts and things like that. And one of my church colleagues was praying with me, and she said to me, "Oh, you're going to be writing books." And I said, like, "Yeah." And she said, "Oh my goodness." But she said, "But there's something significant about the logo." And I couldn't see the logo at the time. I just had this name. She said, "There's something significant about the logo and with the colors. There's something about the design." She goes, "You really must seek God about the design." And at the time, all I saw was like a baton being passed from a parent to a child. And I just got the words, "pass the baton." And so for a long time, I was playing around with this. And would you believe it? One morning, you're not going to believe it, but I fell asleep in the morning. Who does that? I
I can
fell
believe
asleep
it.
in
I
the
do.
morning. Yeah, I fell asleep in the morning and I saw this vision that's behind me here. I saw children from every continent of this world standing together, and they were holding a scroll in their hand, and that was the baton. And they stood on a rock, which you
Wow.
can see there. And they were standing on a real
Yes.
solid foundation. And I can't draw. I can design, but I can't draw. And I just literally did like little matchstick men, and I put the colors, like they were in pastel colors. And then I began to just write the word RAISE, raise, and then that's how I got the name. And I said, oh my goodness, all this time I've been fighting with the image, and the image is very significant.
Yeah.
And that is what I saw. And funny enough, in that dream that morning, I don't know how, but I saw Steve Harvey in the dream, and he came to pick me up in a white Bentley. And that
Oh,
hasn't
wow.
happened yet.
Keep speaking it out. It will. It will.
I'm telling you, girl, because I saw him come to pick me up. And it was when I saw this vision. So that is how,
Wow.
and this is why I say to everyone, don't despise what you see, trust it. Because as I said before, that scripture, write the vision and make it plain, and those who read it will run with it. There's another scripture. God said to Abraham, "I will give you as far as your eyes can see." We see so many things, but sometimes we put them on the back bencher. And as I said, I was carrying a pregnancy for 20 years, but I did give birth.
Yeah, you did.
Maybe a
That's
bit
the most important
overdue.
thing.
Yeah, it may be a bit
Yeah.
overdue, but sometimes we have a baby a little bit later. But nevertheless, it's here and it's
Yeah.
come safely. And there's sometimes when a baby is overdue, there is a little bit of a tug, and there's a little bit of a challenge, but the baby does come to fruition and into manifestation. So here we are, with the Pass the Baton. So with Pass the Baton, what that is, I write parenting programs, lots of different programs. some for dads, some for mums who've been on long-term unemployment, all
Hmm.
different types, and this is where I kind of push my work out in those areas. Then the lockdown came, and then things, you can
Yes.
have face to face and things like that. But it's all on my website, and the work is there, and that's never going to go. So, and now with Aminata segments, that's a whole nother set of work to be done as well. So I think the work just keeps going. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the website, passmeabaton.co.uk. If you want to learn much more about Sandra's work, you can contact her via that site as well. So please make make note of that and get in touch.
Yeah. Please do. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're thinking of writing another book as well. So how's that
Well,
going to springboard off the book that you've currently written?
okay. Aminata has a sequel.
Hmm.
She will have an orange farm because she plants an orange tree and lots of things. She becomes an entrepreneur with her mum in book one.
Wow.
And then we'll see how that unfolds and establishes into more of a global entity. And essentially, I think what my concept and my message is, let's lift the bar for our children. Let's
Hmm.
just lift the bar. Let's empower them. The essential thing is that my aim was to empower Aminata and her peers. And when I realized it doesn't matter where they live, they could live here, they could live abroad. Let's just lift that bar. So,
Hmm.
from one seed, or a bag of seeds, she actually found a bag. So she has one orange tree in the first book, but with the next one, she'll have a farm. So with that farm, she just begins to plant, and things get established. And even when I think about a country like the Gambia, um, gaining their independence. And I think, well, are they independent?
Yeah.
I currently work in a secondary school, and the year eights were doing some work on colonialism, and my goodness, it really kind of opened my eyes to a lot of what had really gone on. There's only 3 countries in Africa that was never colonized. When I think about, I went to 9 islands before the lockdown in the Caribbean, and this the common denominator essentially was poverty.
Hmm.
So when I think about these countries taking independence, but I think, well, are they independent? So there's still so much to do,
Hmm.
still so much to move on from, to think that the slave owner was compensated in today's currency, 80 million. That's generational wealth for the slave owners. But
Hmm.
then what was the slave left with? Absolutely nothing. So what we've got is what we've made for ourselves.
Hmm.
So, we need to be thinking about the disadvantage to the race on the track if we're going to be passing the baton. Who had that first leg, in
Hmm.
comparison to who didn't have anything. Maybe the runner, like ourselves, didn't have any shoes, and maybe everybody else had on the best Pumas and whatever, and they took the first leg and they ran for whatever. But what I'm
Hmm.
saying is that it's looking at the disadvantage in this world, in this generational race, and it continues. So I just believe that as parents, as grandparents, I'm a grandparent of 5, we really need to look at what is it that we're passing on to the next generation. And I think it's really important to know what it is that you have in your hand and what you can
Hmm.
actually pass on, you know.
What would you like to pass on to your grandchildren?
I would like to pass on my work. And I think what I've got 5 grandchildren, as I say, they're all different.
Hmm. So
They're
you cut
all
out a bit there. You'd like to pass on what? You'd like to pass on what to your grandchildren?
what I'm already doing.
Hmm.
So in terms of my work,
Hmm.
essentially what I'd want to pass on is that they have purpose.
Right.
They have purpose. And really essentially it's about putting purpose back into their hands and
Hmm.
purpose back into their minds, and letting them know that they too will have an eventuality, and their
Hmm.
eventuality is to become independent. So again, it's passing that on so that they can be able to live and be able to succeed, in more ways than one, you know.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, let me just stop there and have a couple of comments here.
Okay.
Uh, from Clarine Curry. She says,
Mm,
as a foster carer, this is really interesting.
mm.
So thank you for commenting, Clarine. And again, she says, well
Thank
done.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And then Christine Brown. I said, hey, Sandra, first time I'm hearing your testimony. This is so powerful. What an inspiration you are. May the Lord continually direct your steps as you walk into the destiny he orchestrates for you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Clarine and Christine, for commenting. I really appreciate that.
Thank you
So,
so much.
you're clearly a very accomplished person. I mean, we don't have the time to go through all of the things that you do because you do so much. And even like on the community level, you do so much work.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to say to women who are in their 40s and beyond, who think, well, you mentioned earlier, you thought, well, the time had passed, like you'd had this vision for 20 years and you hadn't brought it forth yet, but the time came, you did bring it forth. Do you know what I'm saying? So, what would you like to say to other women or even men, anybody listening who's over the age of 40, probably thinking, well, there's something I wanted to do 20 or so years ago, but I didn't actually get around to doing it. So, is it too late now? What would you want to say?
The dream hasn't died. The dream has not died. And there's no distance with a dream. And so I would encourage anyone, don't just die empty. Get it all out into the open.
Mhm.
Don't leave your dream inside of you. Get your dream
Yes.
out and allow it to be accomplished what it needs to be accomplished in. So, as I say, I did kind of beat myself up on it quite a bit. Oh, I should have done this before. And, my sister said, just stop. It's the right time. It's the right time. Even if I had done it 20 years ago, the quality would never have been the same. Okay.
True. True.
But it would have been done.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the quality would have been different. I mean, Aminata and the Bag of Seeds, it's an incredible book for a first book. The quality it's incredible. And I don't think my first book, if I'd done it 20 years ago, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been like this, because I wouldn't have had the experience and the knowledge to have put into it the way that I have now. So I think
Yeah.
now with my overdue carrying, I've got so much to add. And maybe this is why the book is so meaty, because I wanted to get like so much in it, but I didn't want it to be like dreary. I mean, it is kind of interesting. It's inspirational. It's an inspirational children's book. And
Hmm.
that is what I really essentially wanted, to inspire, to empower, so that they know that they can do all things. They can do it,
Yes. Yes.
and again, the parental engagement, it's essential that parents recognize when they come alongside their children, who knows what's going to happen. And it's
Hmm.
not until Aminata's mum takes her position and comes alongside her daughter, then there's that full manifestation of the
Hmm.
greatness of what they allow it to happen when they've come together. So again, it's really, I think, again, it's not about you saying it's too late. It's never too late. A dream cannot die unless you kill it. Don't kill your dreams. Just bring them out, 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 bring them out.
Yes.
Yeah, bring them
Yes.
out, bring
We've
them
got
out.
a few more comments here, so I want to get these in quickly. From Anna M. She says, Sandra, your vision is impressive. Your ability
Oh,
to empower people is exceptional. The way you see human beings from childhood is so powerful. And then she has
thanks,
a
Anna.
question for you.
Yeah.
She says, what do you think parents should focus on that will enable children to become whole?
Oh,
Good
this is
question.
lovely. And you see, this is part of the whole concept of, if you look at the 7 segments, as I say, and the teacher at the back of the book explains that when all these 7 areas are in a child's life, it makes them whole.
Mhm.
I know Anna. I delivered programs to her. She's one of the parents I used to deliver programs to. So thank you for joining me today, Anna. But again, if you as a parent recognize your responsibility and your role is to develop and nurture that child or children, the educational side, help them. If you see a particular gift, help them how to bring it out. It's important. Don't just let them try and focus on their gift. If the child's really good at football, don't just let him go outside and start kicking a ball on his own. Take him to a place where it's structured. Take him to a place where he can be developed. I have a friend, I don't even know if she's online, Musit. Musit is an incredible mum. She's got these boys. She's got 5 boys, and I think about 3 of them are professional football players from the age of 5. And
Wow.
she would drive them all the way out to Cobham. She will drive them everywhere. They're in clubs. I've seen this woman take her children. Why? She's seen their gift, but she just doesn't let them play around with the gift. She allows them to develop it, and she allows them to perfect it. So it's about perfecting what you see. What do you see in your child? Let me just go back to an example with my son. In 2008, my son was 14, coming home from school, and the police photographed him on his way home from school in his school uniform. Now, when he got home and he told me that, oh, he was stopped by the police, and oh, yeah, mum, and they photographed me. I said, they photographed you? I said, why, was you arrested? No. I said, why did they take your photograph? Oh, they said that's what they do. I said, no, that's not what they do. They're not allowed to do that. I said, I work in a school. I can't just take photographs of children. I said, get your jacket. We're going to the station. And I'm telling you, I really roared inside, and took him to the station and met up with the duty officer. And he said that their superintendent has given them the authority to take photographs of children in and around the borough because they need to reduce street crime and gang culture. And I said, no, your superintendent can't do that. So I
That's
said,
right.
well, yeah. I said, well, where's the legislation, about this? And, he got a bit red because he knew that he didn't know himself, because essentially he's just carrying out the duty and the instructions of his boss.
Hmm.
So anyway, because I was asking all these questions, he said he'll get back to me. When eventually he got back to me a week later, he said, oh, Miss Moodie, just to let you know that the photographs are stored in the intelligence unit. I said, the intelligence unit? He said, yes, but only higher intelligence have access to that. I don't
They
have
shouldn't
it
have it.
as,
No.
as a chief officer. So I thought, oh, right, okay. So I said, well, where's the form he should have been given? Because he wasn't even given a form. So I contacted the Black Police Association, and they said they knew nothing about it. And so
Hmm.
with that, they gave me a superintendent's name. I went to go and see him, which took a little while, but eventually he spoke to me and he told me something about the CPCG. I didn't know what that was. Now I know
Hmm.
it was the Community Police Consultative Group. And there was a meeting at the town hall. So when I went along to um, that was where I aired everything that I needed to about my son. And, you know, at the end of the day, I know my son. I gave birth to my son. And if you know the type of script for your child, you'll know when an error is coming in the way. Now, them having my son's photograph in the intelligence unit was clearly error. And that
Hmm.
was not for my child's life, because I wasn't raising him to be on a police file. That wasn't
Hmm.
his portion. So I challenged them. And would you believe it? In that meeting, all the essential people were there that day. And so when I kind of explained everything, back to back chronologically and everything, and I said, as a responsible parent, I would like to know where, when was their consultation over this tactic, and where can I find a state legislation? And that was it. There was a public uproar. And so with that, to cut a whole long story short, the tactic was suspended because I was on the paper by the Friday morning, the TV
That's,
by the evening, the
mhm.
Guardian, the whole lot. It was like it was a big, big thing, to think I had
As it
never,
should be.
but I would never have known how big this thing would have blown up, because I'm thinking I'm trying to stop this thing happening to Jordan, not realizing there was a lot of innocent children that were put in this bank,
Of
and
course.
parents could not speak for themselves. And we found out that evening it was going on for the past 10 years. So it was like I
Wow.
was thrown into the equation. Yep. And it was suspended on that Friday when it became in the public press and all the rest of it. And then 3 months later, it was totally abandoned. So, that particular situation had changed the legislation. And that was how I began to start my community side of things, the CPCG, and then the Lambeth Black Families Forum. As you know, that's how we met.
Hmm.
Laurel Patterson was the community liaison officer at the time. And that was how we all came together to discuss what we're going to do about the stuff that's happening with young people out of the death of a young 15-year-old boy that was killed outside of his school. So
Hmm.
that was how I got thrown into the arena of the community side of things. And again, even with the community side of things, you know, when I was managing the centre, that's what I did. I just used everything I had, you know, with my experience there, and I just kind of brought everything together in terms of community and in terms of what I was doing with the community side of things, the community cohesion essentially, and just
Mhm.
brought everything together. So for me, I just use every crumb. I don't waste anything. I just
Yeah,
use everything, and I know that it will work out for its good in the end, you know?
that's
So
great.
yeah,
So have
yeah.
that answered your question, Anna?
I hope
Okay.
so, Anna, but just
I'm sure it
it's,
did. I'm sure it did. Yeah.
yeah, I hope so. So there's a lot to go in there, I suppose. Yeah.
So we've got a mention from Veronica Clark here. She said, "I've been on this journey with Sandra. I'm so proud of her. God has directed her path,
Oh,
and I would like to share anyone." I don't know what the rest of that says, but thank you, Veronica. She's also got something here. God has given each one of us purpose, and everything is birthed at the right time. I agree.
oh, thank you,
Yeah.
sweetheart. Thank you very much. In fact, Veronica was the young lady that I was going to do Kamara with. So yes, it has been a very long journey, a very long journey. She's my childhood friend. Thank you, V.
Oh, that's
Love you.
wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, Sandra, thanks. Not Sandra. Yeah, it's Sandra. Sandra, thank you so much for coming on my mind sometimes, like all these names.
That's
Thank
all
you so
right.
much for coming on and sharing your story. Well done on the book. I am going to actually get a copy of it, even though it's for children. I still want to get a
No,
copy of that book and read
it's
it
for
myself.
everyone. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
good for everyone. Yeah. Thank you so
yeah.
much. It's been
Well, I want to say
wonderful.
thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for just like letting us get a little bit of a peek into what makes Sandra Moodie who she is, how you started your book and everything. So thank you so much for that. Don't
Thank
forget,
you.
Sandra has her own website. You can get her book at passingthebaton.co.uk. So please do visit that. And she also has a lot of information about passing the baton on her website as well. So please do make use
Yeah,
of that.
yeah.
If anybody watching today has found their passion or purpose later on in life and would like to come on and share your story, please email me at over40slounge@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your story, and I'd love to put you on a platform to interview you so you can share where you've come from and to act as a source of encouragement for others who are over 40 and thinking, well, is it too late? Do I still have anything to give? I would really love to hear your story and like to have a conversation with you.
I
So
have a
please
few
do drop me a line.
recommendations for you. Don't worry.
You do.
Oh, I
Oh,
do.
let them email me. I want to hear. I want to hear what they got to say. Yeah, dude, that'd be fantastic.
I do. Thank you so
Fantastic.
much. Uche, you've
Look,
been a
Sandra,
star.
as always, thank you
Thank
for just.
you.
You're such a stateswoman. Seriously, I don't know if you recognise that, but for me, when I look at you, I think stateswoman. There is so much. You've got so much substance. You do so much, and I've always looked at you like you're almost like I know you probably think what's she talking about, almost like a Michelle Obama type person. In that you what you bring out is not just a little bit that you bring out, but you bring it out in such a way that it is transformative. Do you know what I mean? It has a lot of meat to it. It has a lot of depth to it. You know what you're doing. You know what you're talking about. You put yourself on the line. Do you know what I'm saying? You're not just talking outside your neck. You know what you're talking about. You educate yourself. You train yourself to become an expert what it is you're doing. And I remember when I used to chair the forum when I was on there, it was always such wisdom that would come out. And that's why a lot of times I sit there quiet because I'm like, I don't even know what, how to contribute to this, you know what I'm saying? So I just want to say thank you for everything you've done over the years. I don't know if anyone's ever said to you, but thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you
Whether
so
it
much.
was, for the families, for children, for that young girl Aminata over in Gambia, whose life you're changing, for just the time that we've known each other, just like the wisdom and everything you have has really made an impression on me. I just say thank you very much for everything you do. It has not gone
Thank
unnoticed.
you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very encouraging. Thank you.
So good night, everybody. Thank you to all those who commented. Oh, there's two more. Let me see what they're saying very quickly. Okay. Anna M says absolutely, and she says thank you.
Thank
So
you,
thank you for
Anna.
commenting, Anna. Thank you, Veronica, Anna. And who's the other one now? It was Clarine. Thank you, ladies, for commenting and asking questions. Much
Thank
appreciated.
you. Thank
That's
you.
all for this evening. Have a wonderful evening, and I will be on here again next week with another story. Take care. Bye bye.
Lovely.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Sandra.
I'll be tuning in. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.